The economy posted strong signs of further improvement last week with just shy of 1 million new jobs created in July and the lowest levels of unemployment since the onset of the pandemic. So that's great news. All these new jobs in California, eviction moratorium can end. People can come out and get some jobs. So will California lock down the state and destroy the positive gains in the market? Politicians on both sides of the fence said maybe the first lockdown was not the right way to handle the situation. Are they thinking about locking it down again? So in addition, interest rates fell back below 2.8% last week, and recently released construction data shows that California is on track to build at least 30% more homes this year than they did in 2020. That's good news. However, the public health numbers in the state continue to deteriorate at a rapid pace. In addition, buyers continue to become discouraged about housing even as new listings finally start to come online. So hard work remains the mantra as the market continues to normalize right now. So hopefully they won't shut things down. We're kind of getting back on track. Strong jobs report despite COVID rebound. Although California will not report on July jobs for several weeks, we can be optimistic because the U.S. jobs recovery last month accelerated with 943,000 new jobs and a post-crisis low for unemployment of 5.4%. So this was the strongest month for job creation since last August and marks the second consecutive month with more than 900,000 new jobs. However, rising coronavirus cases are likely to stifle growth in coming months. However, mortality rates are low. California has had 2 weeks in a row of over 100,000 new unemployment claims filed, so that recovery still has a long way to go. Also, keep in mind, we still have folks collecting extra federal unemployment right now. So why go back to work? California is currently beta testing universal basic income as well. So will UBI, what will that mean for California? So interest rates fall a bit more. Freddie Mac, Fannie reported that the typical rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage fell to 2.7% last week from 2.8% the previous week. This follows the 10-year Treasury, which also declined to 1.21% last week. Overall rates are now back to their lowest levels since February and likely will remain relatively subdued as the effects of rising COVID cases are likely to bolster demand for treasuries while also causing the Fed to be more cautious about taking too aggressive an approach to monetary policy. Keep printing, keep kicking the can down the road on what may ultimately prove to be transitory inflation pressures. Oh God, we hope it's just temporary, transitory. So good news on the California building permit side is up 32% through June. So far, California has permitted nearly 60,000 new residential units through the first 6 months of this year. Single-family permits are leading with 36% increase, but multifamily units are rising by 27%, thank God, on a year-to-year basis as well. So despite supply chain disruptions and significant increases in the cost of building materials, strong housing demand, some of Proposition 19, and renewed passion for homeownership have lured builders back into the market to increase production after a relatively lackluster year in 2020. So hopefully we won't get shut down and shut down these supply chains as well. So another issue is buyer fatigue intensifies in July. The number of California consumers that felt it was good time to purchase a home fell to an all-time low of just 17% last month. This coincides with the new all-time high price in California of almost, get ready, 820,000, and demonstrates the downside of having a market where new listings cannot keep the pace with home sales for such prolonged periods. Rising prices, fierce competition for available homes, and most transactions closings are above asking price continue to take a toll on would-be homebuyers in California. So combined with a modest uptick in new inventory and the pressure of each individual listing has also helped to normalize the market. So 45% of members had three or roughly fewer offers on their last sale compared to less than 30% of realtors back in May. Also, Mortgage applications are down for 11th consecutive week. The number of new purchase applications ended July down 18% from the same week last year. This marks the 11th decline in a row on a year-to-year basis. However, at a value of 273, the index is only slightly behind the 2020 average of 283 and still well ahead of the 2019 annual average of 255. So low rates are helping to maintain demand at a relatively high level, but growth has clearly decelerated right now. COVID numbers, continue to deteriorate in California. The number of new COVID-19 cases in California rose above 14,000 on Friday. Mortality rates are still low as the pace of infection rises in some areas. The positivity rate hit its highest level since February, with nearly 7% of testing resulting in a positive result, while the numbers of tests is also rising. So hospitalizations in some areas are at the highest levels since early this year. Meanwhile, vaccinations in the state continue to hover in a low 60% range after an initial surge during the spring. So many parts of the state have re-implemented mask mandates, and we expect the guidance to continue to evolve weekly over the near terms as the situation changes. But good news, a statistic that's out there that's well known worldwide, 99.9% of people that get COVID, 99.9, do not go to a hospital and do not die. So that's great news. And 99.7% of people, also that includes people over the age of 70, do not die of COVID-19 or go to a hospital. So they get over it. So that's great news. So, there's people, scientists, doctors, and say that's an interesting statistic. Should we lock down based on that statistic? Should we even have a vaccine? Some doctors have debated based on that statistic. So there's two sides to this, but we talk about cases, but 300,000 to 600,000 people a year die of the flu worldwide, and it's even higher. And people are dying of the flu every day, but we don't talk about the cases of the flu. So I think what gets overlooked is the mortality rate, which I focus on the flu because the majority of people that get the flu get over it. And the majority of people that are getting COVID are getting over it, which is great news. That's a huge number. 99.9% of the population under the age of 70 don't go to a hospital and don't die. And 99.7% of the population, that includes over the age of 70, don't go to a hospital and don't die. So that's great news. So we tend to focus on the cases, and I think for peace of mind for everyone out there, focus on the mortality rates and the hospitalization rates and ventilators and what's going on. And I know people in hospitals that work in hospitals, nurses, doctors, all throughout the country. So I'm seeing some good signs right now, and that's great news. But think about it from that perspective too. And should we lock the country down again? I'd love to hear your comments. Should we lock down based on those statistics? Should we have a vaccine based on those statistics? So we're seeing some good signs in the economy right now. And, just bottom line is both sides of the political aisle, Democrats, Republicans, said maybe we should have handled the first lockdown differently, but things have seemed to change and both sides are politicizing the issue. But it's a shame because California, is the fifth largest economy in the world. It's starting to come back. And, from a real estate perspective, a builder perspective, and put that all on the back burner. Of course, we want to make sure people are safe and healthy. And, we'll have to track this very closely, but we need to focus on the mortality rates too. And those numbers are very exciting and promising out there. When I was reading all this internal data and the analytics from hospitals and the CDC, it's very exciting to see that, the mortality rate is so low of COVID-19. So we'll have to see what the future holds, but that's kind of a market report in a holistic perspective in the state of California. So we'll have to see how things turn out. Take care. Be creative.